Hello, welcome to my channel for Evolved Humans. I am Ms. Day. This is a collective reading. So this reading was like deep fast. So there was a lot going on. First of all, someone in here, okay. Here. Let me burn some sage. There might be a funny side to this, but I just feel like this reading is so important about like accountability that I don't want to talk about it in a silly way. So like don't be offended, but it's like that's the reason. It's very obvious with this reading really fast that someone doesn't really take good care of themselves in all of the ways. I mean, emotionally, physically, and I think that you don't take care of yourself physically because you're not taken care of emotionally, or were not taken care of emotionally, whether in childhood or adult. There's also this reading is like you might give in to really unhealthy lifestyles, and you might do that because it's a habit, like a habitual type of pull. And it's crazy, but when you're a creature of habit like that, like when you can kind of become addicted to whatever it is that you do, or if you can become obsessive really quickly and easily, all you really have to do is shift your perspective, or shift your addiction or your obsession to something that's not as bad. Something that's maybe like that's why like you can't jump up the staircase when we talk about like healing taking time. It's like sometimes in order to even go up a higher level, you have to start where you're able to step up to. And I feel like this reading is a lot about, I think that you already have experienced the repercussions to not really taking care of yourself. I think you have experienced it in the way that like you were not taken care of emotionally, and I think that that's the reason you don't care for yourself enough. And I know the reason I was like, oh, it's not all silly, is because I know we all joke about like not taking care of ourselves, or like eating the wrong things, drinking the wrong things, not going to bed when we should. All of those things. When we do all of those things, it's like all we're doing when we speak the joke is comforting ourselves with the lie. I mean, we're comforting ourselves about something that we know better, but that way we can make it a joke, so we're pretending that that is us accepting it. But we're accepting the negative part, not the joke. So it's like sometimes when you reach a certain like part of your life, I feel like preventative measures are really important to someone in here too, where if you want to not experience really horrible consequences, I think, to like not focusing so much on your well-being later down the road. Oh, I feel so much stuff in here. It's like, I feel like you need to take preventative measures for your health. That's what I'm saying. And that's not like a creepy warning. This is more like, I think that this whole kind of averting away from your own needs, it's an emotional reaction that you grew with. So I don't know who this is, but someone in here, I don't know if this is like a majority thing, but one of the first vibes I got was that someone was kind of like surrounded by older generations when they were growing up. I think, or maybe even at work now, or in the earlier adulthood. I don't know. There's something about you just like having like this huge respect for older generations and maybe even helping them. or like just kind of being around them as you developed. So another part of this, when I was getting ready for the reading, I feel like someone needs to be assertive right now with reaching for a new obsession. Like you've got to redirect these unhealthy behaviors into something else. So, and I feel very much like this was not because of your true identity, and I think that this is learned because of stuff you experienced in your environment early on. Another thing I heard was that song in Frozen, I think the first Frozen, when Elsa's like getting ready to go face the people, and she's like, put on a show, make one wrong move, and everyone will know. That is what I heard. So like, it ties in with not zoning in on your own needs and like your emotional health. That is a physical need, because if that's pulling downward, then your physical state is also going to pull downward too. It's going to be affected. We're supposed to be working together with our body to heal. So when we neglect our emotions, it's kind of like neglecting a wound that's trying to heal. And we can totally dodge that just really rapidly, especially if we develop by dodging that. And that's what it feels like in this reading. The other part of this is, I feel like what they're trying to let you know is so serious that it's not your fault, but the next step is accountability for it, which is nuts. So like right before the reading too, like I got this huge, just like so many things all at once. And I feel like you have sort of self-sabotaged by neglecting in an emotional reaction. You have self-sabotaged, even if that was not being alone. Because I do feel like someone in here needs to know that also, that not wanting to be alone, that kind of having that panicky feeling about being alone in life on the weekend, on this evening for all of these hours. It's like when you feel that way, sometimes that's an emotional reaction. I've got to be on the phone with somebody. I've got to go get on social media. Like sometimes it is an emotional reaction because you're dodging yourself. So if you're dodging yourself, then there's information that's trying to come to the forefront and you are physically avoiding it. So if you're used to neglecting emotions and your own emotional reactions, then your emotional reaction seems to be neglecting your own health emotionally. Whew. Okay, so I feel like because I think the reason that older generation type of thing, it might have been in the way that you were raised. Maybe you were raised in a way that like you can see it throughout the older generations in your family. Like maybe you can see, or just the older generations around you, like maybe you can see what kind of trickled down, and you can see where there were sort of bridges that were not built necessarily to make you comfortable in the now with like navigating in today's world. It's kind of weird. That's like, that doesn't feel like everybody, but that feels significant. Maybe that's with like the age group. Okay, so the put on a show thing, like I think that it was very much not, I don't think that everybody who was kind of neglected emotionally, it's not always with like an ill intent, right? Like we know that not everybody has a bad intention. Excuse me. Funny, I'm sorry, but that's what Jesus, like it just that came into my head earlier today too, that thing about Jesus when he said forgive them for what they don't know. Like we don't know, we do not know what's going, like we don't know what we are going to act like later on in reaction to things that we don't know. We're not being taught how to react to them right. If you're not taught properly, it doesn't mean that like you're just a screw up if you have really weird screwed up reactions later in life. Like as a wild animal, that's our brain. We have control. And if you don't have control of your own vehicle, then like that can look like a crazy tornado, even if you didn't see the same type of tornado. Just a lack of control is what you would take then from the environment. So with this is what it's about. That's why. Because this feels so much like whoever you were surrounded by and whatever you were not taught, like you can accept it. You already know it. Like you already know kind of how you were not given certain lessons and guidance that you did need. And I feel like because you need it, like you're getting it. And this put on a show thing, I think that's what it is with this laughing it off about not really caring for your own needs, or even being triggered if someone else says something about it. Like sometimes tough love is love. It's the best. Sometimes tough love can feel intimidating when you're used to not really receiving a strong force of love. And that's what this feels like too. It's like whoever you are not reaching up enough in yourself. You're not seeking the positive enough. So I feel like the guidance thing, another thing I heard when I was starting this was my own, like the stages that we go through. It's always emotion that we're experiencing. And it's like awareness, acceptance, and accountability. And someone's got to be in control. But it's like, so we can be aware of stuff and we can accept it. But then what do we do with it if it sucks? So it's like, that's what this is. This reading is kind of like the next step is being accountable for it. But that's why so much of this reading feels like this is not your fault. And that's, I think, why I thought of that Elsa scene. Because when she was putting on her gloves, like put on a show, make one wrong move and everyone will know. I don't know if I'm right, but like I'm picturing like when her parents were gone. Like she did not have anyone to tell her what to do when she stepped out to run the show. She didn't have a guide. She just had to figure out her own way. And with this, it feels like there is a mental prison. Like that is what it feels like to neglect emotions. It feels like also with that put on a show thing, trying to kind of cover it up. So like when the walls go up, I thought today about somebody who does like the family thing. And when you go to like work environment situations or parties or friend things or family get-togethers, I was thinking back, and this came in my mind because I knew it would come in somewhere, and it is. And it's like, it was this really strange feeling when like we're at our lowest and kind of feeling this overwhelming pressure of like, everyone is judging me. Everyone can see what I feel and that I know they're judging me. And it's like you can be in a room with people smiling and not talking about you and feel like they're all talking about you. And a lot of times that's because, just think about like the height of a need. And like earlier I was thinking of preventative measures being what you do to like care for your own health. But like when you need help, it's almost like it gets flooded because you may not know how to hear the messages, but like when you need help and you're consciously in your head saying, please help, they will come and it will make it feel like an over pressure pot that's about to burst. And that feels emotional sometimes. So you have to block super hard so you can get even in a daze from blocking. But in this case, it feels like you're so in need and wanting and asking for the guidance that they're like, your answer now is accountability, which is crazy because one of the things that I did today, which like, it's weird because I don't always do this, and I wasn't even stressed. But I just like sat down and did it, where I had both my kids in the room with me and I had like one coloring and one reading, and I have three, but one was in another place. And then I sat down and I wrote like so many pages on just a notebook paper of all of the thoughts in my head. And it was weird because it was almost like autopilot where I just wrote it all out and got it all out. And then after it, I felt like, I felt like I had done a reading. Like I felt like I just released everything. And so I think someone in here, like, being accountable does not mean blaming yourself for what you're experiencing now or for like your negative habits. It's not about like shaming yourself. This is literally the opposite. It's like they want you so badly to have, like, this accountability is a gift because you're already aware of what's been wrongly done in your life. You already know it's wrong. You emotionally are accepting of why it's wrong. You're clear of mind at knowing that. You know that. And emotionally also, even though you've grown with a blocking tendency, you also have a very warm light. And it's like they want so badly for you to fight this last hurdle. And all that is actually, I think you need to write it out. Like someone in here, I think that this is weird, but sometimes it's like the reason accountability matters so much is because just think about information that you're willing to be aware of. Cool. You're willing to emotionally accept, okay, this is terrible truth, and the truth hurts, but I fully accept it emotionally. I'm going to walk knowing that and apply it to my life. But it doesn't feel good just because you're willing to see it and you're willing to accept that it's real. And that's what this feels like. I think that the negative treatment of yourself is a lingering habit. It's just a lingering reaction to the wrong treatment. And I feel like that's what this accountability is about. This is about being accountable for picking up your own development. And what a gift. Like, isn't that interesting? This sounds like, all right, you've got more work to do, but it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels so much more like you have done so much work that you are now at ground zero. Like, and I don't even know what a terrible thing. I don't even know why I said it. I'm just saying, like, you're at the foundation. That's what I mean. You're at the foundation level now. So that means that all you have to do now is recognize your own habits and knock those out one by one. You've already faced the truths, and truths that suck, you can't just continue walking with them. So that's why you're still easily kind of like neglecting your own well-being and not feeling a second about it. Like not feeling a second thing about it, just being like, whatever. And at the same time, I feel like you literally don't even worry about it. Yeah, you don't even worry about it. And so this next step is being accountable for what your human has learned to do. And like recognizing that even though you thought nobody else knew about it, it's like they're saying, we do. And all of this pressure, I feel like that's going to release if whoever you are, if you will just release the information, like that's what you do with it. You know how they say give it to God? Like that's how you get rid of truth that sucks. You basically have to like write it out, speak it out, say the feelings about it if you've still got the lingering feelings. But with you, I feel like you have healed so much that it's going to heal you up and give you like a cleaner, it's like you have a clean slate if you can just recognize how your human reacted. If you just take that next step where you're like, okay, now it really is in my hands. Now the ball is in my court and I'm going to pick it up. Like now you get to decide. It's so weird because it feels like such a difficult upward motion in this reading, but it feels like such a win. Like I feel like you need to take the word accountability as they're saying they've done all they can do. Now the only person that can make this next step is you. Like it's literally only you. And you can do that with little bitty steps, just directing your focus where you deserve for it to go. And if you don't know where that is, like start asking the questions, like start looking it up. We have access to everything, like at our fingertips, you know? So it's like, don't look up things that don't matter if there are questions you have. Whew. Okay. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I hope this was helpful. This feels like a very intense, supportive, look how far you've come. This next step is nothing. That's what it feels like. So I will leave it at that. I hope to see you guys in the next readings. And if you feel like the readings resonate, definitely subscribe to my channel. Join my membership if you want to know how to connect to your higher frequency guides better, which is about connecting to yourself better. So see you in the next video. Okay, bye.